of the Public Safety Commission. David Gazarian, please call roll call.
Chair Cervantes,
Present.
Vice Chair Munoz, Commissioner Donnelly,
Here.
Commissioner G, Commissioner Holguin,
Here.
Commissioner Liu,
Here.
just no, yeah. Yes, we have a
We
quorum.
have a quorum then. Okay, let's go on to the next. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is one public comment. Yvonne LaRose.
Need to push the button.
Now.
I'm, good morning, Yvonne LaRose, and I'm here because I've been, as we keep getting closer and closer to Election Day, I've, among other things, reviewed the hate crime report that Chief Zielinski and his team produced for us in June. Very impressive. And one of the things that keeps jumping out at me as I go through that is the language that talks about being vigilant and proactive with regard to disinformation during the campaign period and the agitated demonstrations. And this is also in relation to hate crime that will happen, possibly happen, because of those activists, let us say. The report was extremely comprehensive, and I'm so impressed. Some of the things that I have witnessed in town are that could marginally be characterized as hate crime are instances where there has been attempts at extortion, and I think it's those cluster activities that I have been witnessing are because of cultural illiteracy. One culture transferred to our community, and they're not in consonance with one another. But again, I want to say thank you very much. The other thing I want to say, while I have a minute or so, is that I want to commend Officers Smith and Maldonado. The last time they showed up at my property because of situations of vandalism, Smith evaluated the situation, the series of calls that have been made for similar instances. He recommended that the calls that have been made over the past 3 years be concatenated so that they are all joined and can form the foundation for an investigation with regard to the instances. That was such a marvelous decision, because I'm starting to see positive results as flow from that decision, that administrative decision. And also Maldonado was willing to listen and comprehend my definition and explanation of knowing your own place. Smith offered to bring that observation to the precinct for others to understand.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Now we move on to item number 3 on the agenda. Mr. Michael Siegel will make a presentation regarding the active transportation program at Marengo. Did I skip number 2? Wait. Oh, this one here.
Yeah, just Chair Cervantes, you skipped
Oh,
item number 2.
Excuse me, I skipped item number 2. Staff introduction. Please welcome the newly appointed Fire Chief, Greg Lloyd.
A quick introduction, Chief Greg Lloyd has recently been sworn on and joined the South Pasadena family. He's going to tell you a little bit about his background and what his vision is. So, Chief Greg Lloyd.
Good morning, council, or commission, excuse me. I've amassed a total of about 33 years in public safety. I started off as a paramedic here locally. So I grew up in the area in La Crescenta and La Cañada, played soccer here in the Arroyo Seco, volunteered building Rose Parade floats, building some of my own leadership skills. I went to EMT school here in Glendale and Daniel Freeman Paramedic School in Inglewood. And so I have a very close ties to the area and feel like that this is coming home. Spent a total of 27 years in the fire service, 18 years working with San Diego Fire. So I've worked with large municipalities, 6.5 years as a chief officer with the Hemet Fire Department and in Riverside County, and also spent some time as the interim director of the Department of Life Safety, which has fire prevention, code enforcement, as well as building and safety involved with it. And so I look forward to serving the commission, helping me able to answer questions, provide insights, and help move the city and the fire department forward and building on the great legacy that Chief Riddle has established. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
you. Okay, now moving to the item number 3. This is Mr. Michael Siegel will make a presentation regarding the active transportation program at Marengo.
Oh no, not technical difficulties. Should I wait or? Okay. Hi, thank you, commission, council, staff, chiefs, for, oh, all right. Well, I think I can sort of do it from memory, but.
Well, if you wanted to.
All right. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you guys for having me here today. My name is Michael Siegel. I'm with the Marengo PTA. Wanted to talk to you guys about an exciting program we started this year called the Active Transportation Program, which I think falls a little bit in line with public safety. And hopefully just trying to get the whole community aware and hopefully involved. So what is active transportation? Active transportation is just getting around under your own human power, walking, biking, scootering, using a wheelchair, any way of getting around without using your car. And the reason why it's important, it's recognized by the California PTA as something that should be initiated within the local programs because teachers love it. When kids are active before school, they see a whole host of positive outcomes. We see test scores will go up, attentiveness goes up, behavior is better. They get better sleep at night. Just the mental and physical well-being of the child is so much better. Beyond that, it helps other skills that we're trying to teach our kids, independence, trying to teach them resourcefulness, resilience, just other social skills. And it just has all these other benefits that we're trying to give to our children. And so this is one of the things at Marengo that we're trying, because we feel at Marengo we have a great opportunity to do this at our school. We're uniquely situated where most of the children live within a mile of campus, very suitable for children to walk to, even as young as kindergarten. And we have beautiful tree-lined streets. It's very residential. So it's mostly a safe place for children to walk. And so we should be encouraging it and to cut down congestion, cut down air pollution. We just have a great opportunity. And we feel like just through a series of small initiatives, we can change behavior over the long term. All right, so what are we doing? Well, we have 2 pillars that we're working with. We're working with a bicycle pillar and a walking pillar. We've been doing the bike bus for 2 years now already. Now it's falling under the umbrella of the active transportation program. All that means is every Tuesday, we ride in a large group to school from dedicated routes. So on my route, I go from Garfield Park. We have over 30 people joining us every Tuesday morning. And we have several other routes as well. And it's just a way to ride safety in numbers. It actually grew out of a concern for safety for myself and a few other parents where our kids wanted to ride their bikes to school. The very first day we tried, we almost got hit by a car. And, we send our kids to school because it's a safe space to learn where they can make mistakes. And we noticed pretty quickly that if our kids make a mistake on the road just outside of schools, it could be a death sentence. And so we came up with this program as a way for us to be able to kind of contain the kids. We ride in front, back, on the sides, and we're just much more visible out in the community. And so it's just a much safer way to ride to school, and it starts to help them teach the rules of the road so they can be more independent as they get older. Beyond that, this year we're initiating some bike clinics at Marengo. It's open to all students, all elementary school students, and we want to help those, because one of the complaints we get is that they would like to join us, but they don't know how to ride a bike. Their kids don't know how to ride a bike, and as parents, they don't feel safe to just let their kids learn on the street. So at Marengo campus, we'll be enclosed on the playground, and we'll be teaching kids twice, thanks to the generosity of the dudes. We've set up at least 2, maybe more clinics to help teach kids, grow that independence, hopefully then join the bike bus and further their skill set. The second is a walk to school program, which I'll get to in a second. But it's similar to the bike program in that every Friday, we have a few dedicated routes where teachers are joining us to walk to school. The difference is we are adding a fun element. We're trying to make a fun element, which I'll get to in a second. I wish I had some maps to show you so you could see what we're doing. Let me just jump ahead then to the walk to school program. So as I said, it's every Friday. We've got the teacher and the admin on board. It's great because they're actually joining us. So they're talking to their kids. They're telling us the importance of walking. And we're actually getting kids join us. We had our first one on August 30th. And just on our 2 routes, we had over 120 people joining us. That was not including all the other kids that were walking. And one of the things we're trying to do to really get kids coming is create an atmosphere of an event. And so we have randomly one day, the kids have no idea which day it is. We have activity zones at the 2 crossing guards, Oak and Marengo, and Oak and Monterey. And this allows us to capture almost all of the walkers, whether they're on our routes or not. But it's also just far enough away that you kind of have to walk to school in order to get these prizes and see the entertainment. And we encourage those who live further away to drive to the park, to one of our routes, and join us. You don't have to walk the entire way. It's been so popular on the first day that we've already added a 3rd route. Dedicated parents have decided they want to start other routes. So we have a 3rd route coming from Ramona and Oak across Fair Oaks and Fremont. And so what we do at these activity centers, so the kids don't know which day it is. Once a month, we set up giveaways. Last time we had animal pencils, animal erasers, but we're working with the community as well. We have Trader Joe's who's going to come one day, give out breakfast bars and water. We have Vecinos. They're going to come out for Day of the Dead. They're going to give away Day of the Dead material in October. And as far as entertainment, we've got the South Pasadena Jugglers Club coming out, juggling for the kids one morning. We've got the Hive doing an art project. So it's all meant to be random, so the kids don't know. So they have to come every week. You have to come every week because you don't know. And we're just trying to instill a behavior of getting them more active, getting them to school so that they're ready to start the day. And we're hoping that over time, oh, okay, perfect. Keep going. Oh, go back one. One more, and one more. So there you can see the map we have. We've added the 3rd route, and you can see the 2 green circles. Those are the activity zones. You can see our routes, and you can see one of the pictures that we had from our very first day. But these are the routes now. As I said, we've got other parents who are trying to find others to join them on another route. We have some parents interested in doing south of Huntington. So as soon as we can get some parents dedicated to walking each week, we will add that route as well. The more routes we can get, the more dedicated parents we can get, just the better for the kids. better for the entire community. You can go ahead to the next one. This just talks about everything I just said. But really the goal is on number 4 is involvement. We can't do this without the community. I mentioned all the different community members and organizations that are helping us. We have more also lined up. We don't look at this as just a Marengo thing. We look at this as a community event. It helps the entire community, right? If we can help our kids, we can help our community. And so the more we try to grow this, the more we're trying to get community involvement, and the more we hope that it helps out the community as a whole. And so why am I here? So I have 3 asks of you. The first is, Chief Zielinski, I've seen your beautiful e-bikes on the force. We would love for you guys to come join us one Tuesday morning on the bike bus. The kids absolutely love it when officers are coming out and joining us. You know, they really look up to it. And so it would just be a great reinforcement that it's good to ride your bike to school and to get ready for the days. Officer visibility. So you guys can't be everywhere. We know this. And the way to really stem bad driver behavior is through our public works department, through the built environment, through safety improvements there. However, we have noticed when Chief Zielinski was kind enough to send some officers sitting on a motorcycle outside school, the behavior of drivers dramatically increased. Stopping at every stop sign, waiting for our crossing guards. And so just increasing that visibility really helps get our kids to school safely. And then finally, talked about the community event. Join us at these activity zones, whether it's you or anyone else in the community. Come out, walk with us on Fridays. We're really just trying to make it a nice big community event. And if, you know, we used to have a walk to school program budgeted in the city where fire and police would be at the schools handing out gifts. We don't do that anymore, unfortunately. But now through the Marengo program, we can. And so if any fire or police would love to join us, or any members of the community to help hand out gifts, the children would absolutely love it. As I said, they really look up to our community officers here. And so the final thing, I just have some photos from our first event. You can see Miss Algeria there in the top left. By the way, fantastic. She's the best crossing guard I've ever seen. But it was just a great event for the first time on August 30th. We're doing it every Friday. If you don't tell the kids, the next one is going to be the last Friday in September will be our giveaways. So come join us. And I thank you guys for having me here today. Just talk about what we're trying to do in the community. And I can answer questions now, or there's my email addresses. Please hit me up at any time if you have any questions.
I don't have a question, however, I have a comment. This is such a great program that you are talking about. The involvement of the entire community, especially showing that we care about these children, and the fact that we get our public police officers and fire involved is so good. It makes them feel that there is a sense of they have somebody to turn to. And I think that is so good. I hope that we can maintain this for many, many years to come, because I see nothing but positive results coming out of that. The only suggestion I might have is that if we could ask Chief Zielinski at the times when the children are crossing, if we have some spare black and whites, that we could park them. They do not need to have an officer inside. By parking them right where the crossing is, the crossing is, because, as you say, when the drivers see this, they cannot stop. You know, they're in such a rush. They waited to the last minute, and there's a. But if they see this, they say, okay, these people mean business. So it's just a way to give an extra protection for the children. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, we absolutely welcome that. Thank you. The high time of when kids are either walking or biking to school, to at least at Marengo Elementary, probably the 3 other elementary schools as well, is between 7:55 and 8:10. That's when we see it. And when we set up our activity zones, we get there at 7:50. We see a few early. We always see those few stragglers after 8:10 running to school late. But 7:55 to 8:10 is when a vast majority of kids are passing by.
Commendable program. Very happy with it. My question to you is, have you presented this program to PTA council and to the school board? And if it's implemented at all three schools, could the days be staggered? And are there enough police staff to cover all three schools?
Thank you. Yes. So we look at this as a pilot program. That's our goal, is see how successful it is, see where the problems are, assess it, tweak it. And then hopefully by the end of the year, when we have gathered enough data on what works and what doesn't, bring it to the PTA council to see if it's something they'd like to implement PTA wide, school wide, I'm sorry. However, we are talking with, our counterparts at AV. They are also interested in doing this. They already do the bike bus on Tuesdays as well. They are implementing a couple of walk buses with teachers and the principal. I don't know where they are yet. And then I know, I believe Monterey Hills used to have a walk to school program as well. So we are absolutely open to that. Like I said, before I bring it to PTA wide, just trying to gather more data, see what works and what doesn't. But it's definitely on our agenda for later in the year.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Appreciate the presentation. A couple questions for you. Have you worked with the school itself or anyone with regard to the increase of bikes and where they would be stored safely?
Yes. So at Marengo, thankfully, we just purchased some additional bike racks for the school last fiscal year. They've been sent to the district, and now we're just waiting on the district to install them. There are multiple areas within the school that they can currently park their bike. They're not the greatest, but they're at least safe when they're inside. But one of the things we've seen that's a barrier is that, everyone gets to school, but it's the after school that's a problem, because kids are going everywhere. They're going to this aftercare program or that practice or this or that. And so they're going in so many different directions that parents often just want to come pick up their bike after school if they're riding, but they can't because the school's locked and they can't get in after 5 p.m. Right now, we have only one bike rack in front. With this purchase, once it's installed, we should dramatically also increase the amount of parking. Again, budget, we only have so much, so we were able to get about 18 spaces for bikes. And the way admin looks at it is, if it's popular and we fill it up, we'll look at to make another purchase in coming years.
Got it. Thank you. And for the walking bus, is there any way to implement education on jaywalking? So, for example, I know when I was in middle school here in South Pass, the police department had a program at the time where they gave you like basically a citation, but it was just an educational pamphlet. And I know that scarred me for life, at least till I moved to New York and everybody walks everywhere. But if there's any way to, maybe these kids are young enough where that's not a temptation for them, but if they are in a rush trying to run to school, if there's any way to implement that, I think that might be somewhat helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to work with the police department on any sort of program. Whether it's bike safety or pedestrian safety, we're absolutely open to it. Also, one of I think your comment is correct. I don't think kids at this age are looking to jaywalk, but I do think they make mistakes, right? And I think that's what we're trying to instill in everyone, from drivers to the kids to all parents, is that our kids need to be able to make mistakes to learn. And it shouldn't be a death sentence if a ball runs into the street and they go after it. Yes, we should teach our kids not to do that, but it should also be safe enough where they're not seriously injured or die. But I think we would absolutely be open to that. Like I said, we're already doing a bike clinic. The first one is October. We will be teaching rules of the road as well as how to ride a bike. But we would love to implement any other sorts of educational items within our program.
Awesome. And one last question: where do scooters fit?
Where do scooters fit?
On the bike or the walk?
You mean when they're going to school?
Yeah, like if I wanted to ride my scooter, would I go in the bike program or the walking program?
Well, so we've had both. And I think it really depends on the age of the child. So we have kindergartners who scooter with us on the walking day, but probably couldn't keep up on the biking day. And then we have older kids who have scootered with us on the biking day. Again, if we're a large enough group, it's pretty safe for the kids to scooter with us because they're within the group and they're flanked by all the parents. And then on walking, like I said, on my route alone, we have over 60 people each the last 2 times we've done it. And with the kids scootering, there is nowhere for them to go but super slow, and they just tend to walk their scooter anyways.
All right, thank you.
So this is a great idea. I think I met you at
At the commissioner conference.
commissioner conference. Yeah, it's a great idea. I think I told you, my little street south of Huntington, about 12 years ago, we started a walking group with the parents on my street, and then the street next to us, wanted to get on it, so they started their own walking group. Well, the kids on my street were very disciplined. Right? We instilled discipline, but the next street was less disciplined. So one of the parents at the time who was walking a group was very concerned that if there were undisciplined kids that were running through streets and things like that, that there would be a liability issue if something happened when it was their turn to walk the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nothing ever happened, thank God, nothing I ever know of. But I'm just wondering, is there any concerns about that, about a liability since it's now a formal program, or
Right.
something you consider, or?
So there's always a concern of liability, especially in this state that we don't, there's a lot of litigation. But we have some pretty strict rules on the walk. You have to, the parents have to be in front. So especially on the bike bus, we have some eager kids who love to race. And so we definitely, we definitely have the rule set that the parents are the ones leading and they have to be behind. And then there's always, so, I said, we have a dedicated parent in front, we have a dedicated parent in back, and then some parents in the middle, guiding the kids. And so we help mitigate some of that risk through that. And we go over those rules each week. Same thing with the walk. It has to be led. Now, unfortunately, to do any sort of program, you have to take on some sort of risk. And so we're aware of that. And that's why we try to put these things in place as we can to mitigate as much as possible. But, we want to try and do as much as we can for the kids without having to worry about potential litigation. Yeah. I mean, it is always a worry. It is. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me here today.
Thank
Really
you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Siegel. Appreciate it. Okay, now moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. Fire Chief Lloyd will present the Fire Department Public Safety Commission report.
Good morning. My hopes is that as we come every month, and I'll provide updates to the council, or to the commission, thank you, on where we're at, things that we're doing. So just keep everybody informed. And so we'll work through this. So first of the things is calls for service. So looking at us for the last month, in the month of August, there were 154 emergency medical calls, 4 fires, 2 hazardous conditions, 9 service calls, and 64 what we call other calls, which include false alarms. Auto aid or mutual aid, that's either if South Pasadena units are responding outside of the city limits into our neighbors, either Alhambra or Pasadena, San Marino, or them coming into South Pasadena. So that equates to a total calls for service of 283. And I bring that up, the auto mutual aid, and we'll talk about that a little bit here moving forward, but the total calls for service are important because as we amortize over the course of a year, once we get to the numbers of 3,000, the typical, the folks that are out there that are making these kind of decisions or talking about consultant work, once we get to 3,000, that's where you start to look at, okay, the utilization, the ability to train, to be able to do all of those other things, inspections, get hampered by emergency responses. And so then we start looking at planning for the future. My goal is to keep you informed of what's going on currently, but also starting to think forward into the future as the city grows or as the calls for service grow, that we as the fire service need to grow with that. So here, as you can see, as part of that auto mutual aid, responses outside of the city are running at about 50, should be about 50 total, running up into Pasadena, running down into Alhambra, into those neighboring areas. And then for responses into the city, you see about 64. And so those are some of the call types that are in there, predominantly medical. And then others that would be traffic accidents, falls, or things of that nature. And so what you see is really what mutual aid is. We are responding outside of the city as much as somebody is responding inside. So that is the true essence of mutual aid. It's not lopsided. Nobody's taking advantage of us. We're not necessarily taking advantage of everyone. But what we are seeing, is that consistently about 50 a month, that there's that exchange. Typically, it seems to be, in talking with the folks that are here, that when we get one call, usually another one follows closely behind that. The mutual aid system works well, and we cover each other well. The only thing that would be something that we want to look at is response times, because we're having a unit travel from a further distance to be able to respond to that, which is important when we deal with cardiac arrests, when we deal with strokes or heart attacks, that time those are essential aspects to be able to render care to our citizens. And then finally in that, our staffing vacancies, just to give you, just keep you updated on where we're at with staffing. Fire chief and division chiefs right now are full. Captains are full. Engineers, we're at 3 vacancies right now. And so we're working on that to fill those vacancies. And then firefighter, paramedic, we have 2 vacancies right now based on injuries. One of those people has just submitted their retirement, so they'll be retiring, so there'll be a vacancy for that. We are currently in a recruitment for the firefighter, paramedic position as well, because that firefighter, paramedic position can also work in and fill into that second engineer spot, so that we're looking to fill those vacancies for that. So just to keep you an update on that, we are in process with that. We hope to be doing interviews and bringing people on here hopefully within the next 90 days. I don't have something on the report, but I did want to share with you, Southern California Edison, they're calling this a heat storm that is out there, and that they're working with that they wanted to make sure to let everybody know that they've stood up their emergency operations center. They have over 400 people that are working right now, employees, to address any service outages that are happening within the area, either due to fires or due to the strain. The biggest issue that's happening right now is we're not seeing the relief in the weather at night. So that strain on the electrical grid continues throughout the evening as people are using electricity either to cool their homes or to work with their appliances. So that strain leads to outages, leads to other problems. And so they said they have a number of employees that are working on it right now. The largest outages they had affected about 13,000 residents. And so with that, that's basically what I have as far as a report. That's my end of report. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer for you.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, and again, welcome and congratulations. Look forward to working with you and getting to know you more. Couple questions on the report. On the slide that has calls for service. There we go. Thank you. For the emergency medical, it shows 154.
Yes.
Do we track how many are unique and how many are repeat? For example, when Commissioner Liu and I were on our ride along, we learned a little bit that there's a particular facility in the city that drains a lot of our resources. So do we track that? How many calls are unique and how many are frequent flyers?
So we could certainly we certainly can. That's within our ability that we can run calls for service by address. We can run calls for service by call type. So we can get more specific and drill down onto that. And so as I work to, and in fact, after this meeting, I'm heading over to Verdugo Dispatch to talk with the dispatch center, and they are basically where we pull a lot of our analytics from, and they can provide those reports. And so I will get that and be able to provide that information. I know that's something that I've been briefed on, and looking at that because of that unique drain on that is to look at potential options, looking forward to be able to address that in there, as well as potentially anybody else that might be, a super, super user, frequent flyer, or however you want to call them. But a lot of times what happens with that, in my experience in dealing with this, is because what's happening is that we're not providing the solution, or we're unable to provide the solution, but they don't know who else to call, so they call 911. And that always tends to be the case. So if we can find a solution to the needs, whether it's through social services or through another city service or a county service, then we can hopefully steer them in that direction and re-educate them on that. But for things like businesses, that's something that's important to me and a concern, because I'm not a fan of somebody using, public to augment staffing on that. So it's something that we'll definitely look into.
Sounds good. Thank you. Sounds like we're on the same page on that.
Absolutely.
One more question on the mutual aid portion that we touched on a little bit.
Yes.
Another thing that Commissioner Liu and I don't want to speak for him, but one thing that we witnessed when we were on our ride along was the unique geography of our city and the tight streets.
Yes.
For example, I live in the Monterey Hills area, and then a very nice unnamed fire engineer recently sideswiped my mom's car, but the city took care of it. So in mutual aid situations, do the other cities who are responding have the proper equipment, the right trucks, and the right knowledge and know-how of how to navigate our city streets? When you talk about response times, is that a concern that we have at all?
Absolutely. And that is what we had discussed about in the aspect of, we want to take care of our own citizens. We want to take care of and so that if we have that ability to have, our personnel responding whenever possible, that's always going to be the best solution. We rely on mutual aid for, surge type of incidences, but when it starts to be consistent, and one of the reasons why I came for you and brought that number is in my experience, we're starting to get there. We're not quite there yet, but we're starting to get there. And I think it's, good for the commission to start looking into, as the calls for service grow, that we respond to that and that we grow with that as well. I think that there are a number of things. I actually was able to travel up in that area last week. I went out with the engine because we were looking at a weed abatement for some city property out there, and the streets are narrow. And I think, in addition to making sure that we help provide our personnel, or as well as our adjacent agencies, with the correct maps, as well as routes of response, that we also look at, what can we do to work with the community? I know it's a tight area. I know it's an older area, but we definitely want to have, ways to escape, plans in place, so that we don't want to end up with something difficult like the Oakland Hills fire that was, several years ago, where people were, fire apparatus couldn't get up because people were trying to get out. And so those are part of some larger plans that I've had and started discussing with our crews.
Great. Thank you, Chief.
Welcome on board, Chief. We do receive some concerns about earthquake preparedness. I talked with Chief Solinsky before, how we prepared ourselves against the potential earthquake.
Right. So we have, as far as for our responders go, we have an earthquake plan that happens, and it starts off with our dispatch. So our dispatch center sends out an alert to all of the stations that we've recently experienced an earthquake. The first thing that we do is open all the doors up and get all of the apparatus out. We want them out of the station because we can't respond if we're stuck inside the station. Once that's done, then we have windshield surveys. So our apparatus start driving out through the community, looking for damage, looking for those types of things. And then they provide reports on that. It's very important for us to be working together. And as I grow in understanding as far as the different elements that are here, CERT becomes a great part of this because we are going to be extremely busy to just responding out and trying to get an idea of what's going on, that we need to make sure that our people are prepared. CERT's a part of that in making sure that their gas is shut off, that their house is secured, that if there's any dangers, that they're outside, they're not going back into their house. So there's a lot of public education. Colin Corson is taking over as our new CERT coordinator. And so part of that is educating our folks what to do in an emergency, also working with our local CERT teams to help be in that community, to be that first touch point, because we may not be there right away because we'll be busy handling possibly some larger issues.
One more question. We used to use phone line as a prime communication tool. In the new technology, do we have a website or social app that we can, the resident can access,
Right.
get the latest update?
Yes. So that ready.gov is a great app to use to get updates on those things that are going on. A lot of the technology that's out there now, as you are in certain areas, that information, if you register your phone with ready.gov, it will send you alerts depending on your area. I just got one last night as I was driving home into Lake Elsinore for a flash flood warning. And so that's part of what ready.gov does, is it looks at where you are, your GPS location on your phone, and sends you those alerts. So that's a great thing. And probably would be something that for us on our website, we need to post to make sure that that information is getting out and that education is getting out regularly.
That's that ready.gov is a third-party service. We as a city need to provide information so it can broadcast to the local residents.
Yeah. So that a lot of that we can provide, there's ways of that. And I'd talk to Chief Zielinski if there's other broadcasting informations as I'm getting into kind of the new parts of this. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So the city specifically, and I would encourage not only all of the commissioner, but any residents that are listening, we have South Pass Connect. That's our local information center. So you can go on our city's website, you can click on the link and download that. If I recall correctly, I believe it's a text, email, and telephone call. We use that frequently anytime there's an emergency or there's something significant that's specific to South Pasadena, major road closures or something that affects a geographical area. For instance, if there's a water main break up in the Monterey Hills, sorry to throw you out there, Commissioner Hogan, but it happens all the time. Something like that, we'll put that information out there. We have the ability to geofence an area with that as well, so we can hit specific neighborhoods if it's an isolated incident, but also the police department's Nixle account. We encourage you to go on the police department's website. You can enter in your information. That is separate yet collaborative effort with the South Pass Connect. That's specific. Nixle is specific to the police department. So we put out a lot more kind of local information that's related to traffic incidents, road closures, crime alerts, those type of things. But they're all great programs. They're free. And we encourage anybody that's living in the community, does business in the community or nearby to subscribe to those. From a more of an emergency management perspective, we also are connected with WIA alerts. We can send out that. That's more of a natural disaster or man-made disaster type of alerts that go out. And then we also have the ability through our emergency management system, the ham radio operators also send out alerts. So there's a number of different ways. Certainly there's ways we can make it more robust. And we're working on that, but there are a number of different ways people can connect and get information. Of course, we also put out information the old-fashioned way, and that's paper on blackboards in different community locations, certainly here at City Hall, at the Senior Center, libraries and any city facilities. We're also working with our CERT neighborhood watch groups to help facilitate that as well. So it's a really challenging task when we want to communicate to an entire city, especially in times of a disaster. But it involves a lot of different aspects, and we really want to get the community involved. So the best thing we can suggest is, with the help of the commission, is to push that information out. We will do the same as a city. We're working, I know Commissioner Braun and I have chatted about the way the city communicates just on a business level, but this is certainly much more important, and we're working on that to make it a more robust system to reach more people.
Thank you very much.
I have a quick follow-up on that. In regards to CERT and Neighborhood Watch, I know a few years ago, the city made available the Map Your Neighborhood program. Is that something that's still, but sorry, Chief Lloyd, I know you're the new guy. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Absolutely. It's something we encourage and we renew every year. We either through CERT or through our neighborhood watch. And for those that are listening that aren't familiar with the Map Your Neighborhood, it's really, you look at South Pasadena as well as any community, and we're a small community, but each neighborhood is actually unique in and of itself. When we talk about the Monterey Hills, the geographic changes as compared to the Marengo area. So what we encourage people to do is get to know your neighbors and what specialty skills they may have. If someone's a physician, if someone's an engineer, if someone has specific tools that can be used in times of an emergency, we've enlisted the help of the scouts at times with Commissioner G. She's talked about it, really getting to know your neighborhood, who's got those skill sets, who's got those tools, so that you're familiar with, in that time of emergency, who can be of greater assistance. If any of you recall, back in 2011, we had the windstorms where a number of trees were knocked down and really put the city between the power and the trees. We were at a standstill for several days. That was really a great eye opener into what Map Your Neighborhood, how valuable it can be, because some of the neighbors got out and started moving trash. Some got out their chainsaws and started cutting trees that were in the middle of the street so that we could get emergency equipment through, or they could get in and out to go to work. Some people had generators that could help power phone chargers and those type of things. So that all came out of Map Your Neighborhood. I know some religious facilities in the city have started doing that within their congregation and then spreading out to the neighborhoods as well. So great program, something we'll talk about as we come into September and October, which is Emergency Preparedness Month in September. And then October, we have the Great Shakeout. It's something we'll be visiting a little bit more.
And is the paperwork, are those kits available for residents?
I will double check on that.
Okay.
I
thank you.
haven't seen them in a little bit, but I'll double check.
Okay, thanks.
Chief Lloyd, sorry, just to follow up. I know you mentioned it in passing, but you said we have a new CERT coordinator.
We do.
Who is that?
Colin Corson?
Okay, not Anthony with a C, Carasso, engineer.
Yeah,
Not
right.
him
I think it transitioned from Anthony to Colin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You bet. Well, we certainly, those are great suggestions to bring forth, and looking at those areas that present some unique hazards. And so with that, and as I kind of get more familiar with that, and I'll bring some of those areas back and look at the ways that we can mitigate. in that is as far as a specific hazard goes, our hopes is that everybody slows down and takes a little more time. The greatest thing that we can do really with those particular areas, and I've seen it with the Oakland Hills, personally, in my experiences with other large fires, the Cedar Fire, is that when the order is given to leave, people need to leave and not stick around. And those are when the dangers happen, and when people drive too fast, when people are driving or trying to get out, they wait till the absolute last moment, and then they're in a rush and potentially a panic. And that's when a lot of those dangerous situations happen. So for those areas, it's very important that when those orders go out, and being connected through South Pasadena Connect, ready.gov, or any of those other types of phone notification services, that when the order comes or when the warning comes, especially if for those people that may need a little more time getting out, they don't stick around. Unfortunately, the fatalities that happened in the Cedar Fire, there were only a few. But those few fatalities happened because they waited too long to evacuate, and they got caught in the smoke and they couldn't see, and their car goes off the road, and then they end up losing their lives. So for us on the fire side and on the public safety side, when those orders or those warnings come, to heed them, to get out of the area, to get yourself safe, to one, make sure that we don't have those types of situations, and two, to allow the emergency vehicles to access are definitely the best solutions that you can take total control of.
I have one more suggestion, and that is nowadays everybody stays connected through a phone and a cell phone. I was wondering if we could make a point of having a station defined where in case of loss of power, people could go and at least charge their cell phones to keep connected to the rest of the city. And I mean, maybe even some of the solar charging stations or places that have their own generators and things like that. But I think at this day and age, that would be very important for the people to be able to stay connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's a great idea as we start to see that greater reliance on technology, that we address some of those potential problems that come up with that. And those are some things that we're talking about in the fire service, even beyond that, with potential vehicles that would have internet capability, satellite internet capability. So if we do lose cell service, or if we do lose something, that we in the city can maintain connection and be able to provide that connection out so that we're not completely in the dark. But that's a great point, and I think it's something that we'll definitely be looking into.
Now, moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, Detective Richard Lee from the Police Department will make a presentation on the Ring program and the neighborhood app.
Hello, good morning. Morning. My name is Richard Lee. I'm the crime prevention and whoops, what happened? All right. Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Lee. I'm the crime prevention officer as well as a crime analyst and detective with our department. I was told to do a presentation on the Neighbors app that was made by Ring. Okay, I don't work for Ring. I don't have any stock in it. I'm just giving a presentation on Ring. All right. Background on Ring first. Ring was created in 2012, and it was actually one of the first companies to actually introduce a video doorbell system. Ring actually was created by two people, actually like mid 2000s, out of the garage. After one of them was burglarized, they were thinking of ways to how they can incorporate cameras to be a better security as opposed to just being just surveillance cameras. And they came up with a video doorbell. It expanded. Ring has definitely expanded, and now they not only just do video doorbells, but they also do interior cameras, exterior cameras. They even do pet tags now, and they also have their own alarm systems now. But in 2017, Ring launched a app called Neighbors. It was in response to a lot of different apps that you see on the regular, and on the internet. They wanted their own app. So Ring has three philosophies for security. The first is the front door, since most criminals will come to their front door to either knock on the door to see if anybody's home. If they don't hear or, get a response, typically they would try to break in because they didn't figure if someone was home, they'd open the door. The second was the outside. That's where the surveillance cameras came from. So if someone walked to your side yard or your backyard or something, you would have a video of that. And then finally, not protect just your home, but to protect your community, your neighbors, you might say. And that's where the Neighbors app came into effect. One unique thing about the Neighbors app is you don't have to have a Ring product to participate. All you need is just a computer or a phone to log in the app, and that's it to participate. It could be viewed on your cell phone as an app or your computer as a web browser, either way. It was designed as a virtual neighborhood watch during the pandemic when um, we couldn't get together as a typical neighborhood watch group where I can come to Mr. LaRosa's house and we all go there and talk in close proximity. During that period, we were, pretty much isolated in our homes. Well, Ring decided, well, you know what? We still want a way to communicate because crimes are still happening. So they pretty much designed this virtual app. Well, what the Neighbors was that everybody can get on and communicate still, share videos, share pictures, and share posts. It is different from other posts or other apps that we see on their websites today. Of course, Nextdoor is probably a popular one. I'm sure most people here are familiar with Nextdoor or probably even participate on it. The one thing about Nextdoor, though, it's not moderated. Anybody can post about anything and it just stays there. When you make a post on the Neighbors app, though, Ring does moderate that. They will delete posts that is not related to anything that's crime or missing pets related or missing persons as well. They will, and if you try to solicit something, they'll yank it off. Nice about the Neighbors app too, you can share videos and photos, whether you have neighbors, Nest, Arlo, or just still pictures. That's all you need. You just post it up so everybody can see and share. What's nice too is each post is anonymous. Each post, if I make a post and Mr. Liu decides to make a comment, he'll just show up as neighbor 1. Mr. Hogan, he'll say neighbor 2, number 3, and so forth. And so we never know who anybody is. So it's totally anonymous. And privacy is very important to them. That's why you have the neighbors 1, 2, and 3 rather than specific names. And when they have posts on the maps of crimes, incidents, it's just a general location. They don't never give specific addresses. A sample like this. You can see the round circle on Monterey Road. An incident happened there. It doesn't give you the exact address. Of course, not privacy issue, but it just lets you know that, hey, if I lived, say, at Monterey and Pasadena Avenue, that, hey, something happened, relatively close to me. This person made a post of what happened, a scumbag think it's early holiday season. And people can post. That's neighbors 39, 41, and 34. So everybody can make comments and view it. And of course, if I try to make a comment about, hey, you should buy my alarm systems, Ring will say, hey, delete it. So they won't see it. Or if I put something up as, hey, you know what, I'm gonna have a garage sale. It has nothing related to this, they'll yank it off as well. So that's actually quite nice. You can view the whole city map, what's highlighted, and it gives different incidents. And you can, when you click each incident, it'll pop up on your left side screen. And if you click on that, it'll actually bring up the incident. And I'll give you a demonstration right now. So this is a live view right now. I'm logged in. So suppose I go to the safety incident here. If I click this, all right, so someone makes a post of crazy helicopters. All right, so what's going on? If you click this one,
We cannot,
oh,
we
I'm
cannot see
sorry.
your screen.
Oops. Wait a minute. Popping up on mine now. It's still not coming up? All right. I apologize for that. It did work. All right, I'll just go back to the PowerPoint then. Can I just bring it up back on yours if I unplug this? Okay, Tanya, if you can go ahead and just expand that one then. So I did this one as a backup in case I did have internet problems. So I did have this one right here as a backup. So, and generally though, you can click an incident, it'll pop up. And if you click that incident, it'll show you more details about everything. You can forward now, Tanya. And if this would be a short video that explains about the program, it's about 30 seconds long. Just you.
It's like a neighbor watch in your hands. Simply set the radius around your hand, and if anything happens in your neighborhood, you'll be the first to know. You can join the conversation, watch shared videos from your neighbors, and keep ahead of crime. And if you see something, share something. It's simple to share your own video or post to the neighborhood right from your Ring app. Real-time neighborhood alerts create a ring of security that protects your home and your neighbor. It's a neighborhood watch for the digital age. Stronger, smarter communities begin with Ring, and together we're making neighborhoods safer.
That's it. When Ring first had the Neighbors app, they had something unique called the request for assistance post that we could, law enforcement could do. Either through a geo fence, we can just like highlight an area, let's say the Monterey Hills area, if there was a certain incident, and we can send out a request for assistance. If there was a burglary or something, we can send out a request saying, hey, there was a burglary in this area. Could you review your cameras? We know it's possibly a white Honda Civic or something like that. And those in that Monterey Hills area can go, oh, okay, and review their cameras. You can forward again. We can only do it within our own cities. We couldn't do it for the city of Pasadena, and that's a geofence that we can coordinate an area. Unfortunately, it was discontinued at the beginning of this year due to privacy issues. That's a shame because we did send it out a few times. We got a couple requests, a couple residents did send back videos, which is kind of nice. But due to privacy issues though, unfortunately, they Ring discontinued this service. We can still make posts, like we had an incident happen, but we just can't make requests for videos though, unfortunately. How to join? If you already have a Ring camera, you're basically already on board. You're already a member. If you don't have a Ring, if you have something else and you still want to join, you simply just go to their app, download it, or go to the website and download it. Simple as that, and that's all there is to it. That's it. Actually, I had one more slide to make it, but beside the Ring app that we can use to help promote safeties concerns, as the chief said, we do have other sites available. Nixle is a great one. We do recommend that one, as the chief said. Nixle, the Nixle alerts that the chief mentioned, the Nixle alerts that we can send out is strictly by the police department. So our watch commanders can send out a notice that there was a traffic accident and a road is blocked. Say, Orange Grove has been blocked due to a traffic accident. Mr. Luke can say, oh, okay, I better not go up there. I can't go to the freeway. And he's aware about it. And then, of course, we can send, okay, it's over now. We're looking for a burglar in this area. Keep away. Or if you're in this area, lock your doors and windows, type of thing like that. So we can make those kind of notifications. So we also have our, Instagram, Facebook, social media sites we also recommend as well. But for crime alerts, definitely Nixle is probably one of the better ones. And we can also use the Neighbors app as well.
One thing I'd like to remind people, and we frequently get this, is when you're using social media, and this is mainly for the people listening at home, is do not report crimes via social media. Please contact the police department as soon as you hear or see something. A lot of times we'll see posts on Nextdoor, on Facebook, on Instagram of people relating criminal activity. Those the public social media sites, they're not monitored by the police department, and it happens that we may stumble across something that happened a day or two later. So I'd ask that anybody that's listening, if there is a crime, please call the police department directly. That way we can handle the situation immediately and get the appropriate resources out to you. So it's just one other thing. Just this morning I was looking at Nextdoor, and someone from a neighboring city posted a violent assault via Nextdoor, and especially with some of the public social media platforms like Instagram and Nextdoor, while we're allowed to make posts, we can't necessarily respond to posts. So there are some government protections there. So privacy issues, and here comes that L word, liability. Liabilities ruin more fun and great programs, unfortunately. But that's just one of those things we have to deal with. So just keep in mind, we don't always see everything when it's posted online, and we can't necessarily respond directly to individuals. So just call the police department if you're unsure. We welcome that. We have people on site 24 hours a day, and that allows us to get the appropriate resources out there.
Yes, thank you, Chief. Of course, we just recommend if you see anything suspicious, please call our number too, our non-emergency number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Detective, I'm sorry, I have a question, Mr. Chair, if I may. Thank you for the presentation, Detective. Appreciate it. You talk about that the service or the app no longer allows the department to post and request information, but you can write an actual post, right?
But yes, we could still create posts of a theft or crime alerts, or even if it's summer heat, we want about safety tips, that we can still do. If we do make a post of, say, we had a burglary at this area, just as an alert, we can do that.
Would you ever create a post like we had a burglary, if you saw it, email Arlie at South Pass, or?
Kind of a gray area, you might say. I don't think I could really say if you see it, but maybe just if you know me already, I'll just send it to you, type of thing.
Okay, because I guess going to the chief's point about liability and litigation, how would you prove that video hadn't been altered and could be authenticated?
Well, that was one thing when the first, the neighbors app, the law enforcement portal, request was, people thought, oh my God, the police can tap into my Ring camera all of a sudden, and remotely and download the video. And that was never the case. No, that's always you had to control. You can review it. If you wanted to send it, you would, share the link with us.
Thank you.
Commissioner, therein lies the value of some of the other programs that we have, like Nixle, and then, of course, our public-facing social media platforms where we do make those posts. And we also do our press releases where we can, because we're in control of those, we can make those requests. If anybody has video, if anybody's seen a suspect, and we provide a description. So there are ways around that. Obviously, there are certain programs such as the Ring app that we can't, but there are still plenty of other sites that we can.
Chair Cervantes, there's one public comment. Ms. LaRose?
Public comment? Comment, yeah. Okay.
As we're talking about next door, a few months ago, I made a comment to Nextdoor and about the benefit of being a small city and having a service, fire and police service that responds, because it's a small city and the sort of, as our statistics showed, sort of adequately staffed. A resident here can expect a response time of 5 minutes or less. If we were in a larger city, that would not be the case. Now, I made that post to Nextdoor, and someone decided that was an appropriate post. But I want to reiterate, it is very important to have good response time. And we are so fortunate to have a staffing in police and fire who respond in literally 5 minutes or less. And officers are also very, very in touch with their communities so that they're knowing the personalities they're serving and the unique stories that go with those personalities, and they treat those situations accordingly, and they care about the citizens. So it's really important that we have such good protection, and that's because we're small and because we have the staffing that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Okay, now moving on to item number 6 on the agenda. We have minutes of the Public Safety Commission regular meeting of May 13, 2024. Is there anything you'd like to discuss on that? Or do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, now we go, let's do a roll call.
Chair Cervantes?
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly? Commissioner G? Commissioner Holguin?
Aye.
Commissioner Liu?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Now let's go on to item number 7 on the agenda. Minutes of the Public Safety Commission regular meeting for August 12th of 2024. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Second.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Chair Cervantes,
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz, Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Haldwin,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu,
Yes.
motion passes.
Now, moving on to item number 8, discussion on the request for proposal of RFPs, bids for the police department tow contract. Chief Solinsky will present this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. In 2019, the Police Department presented RFPs or bids for a tow contract. That contract has since expired, and what I'd like to ask the commission to do is create an ad hoc committee of 2 of the commissioners to work with our staff. As the tow contract bids are coming up, there will need to be a review of those contracts and then a site visit. We anticipate approximately 4 hours worth of work. The purpose of this is for transparency in awarding those bids. And this is a tow contract franchise fee. So tow companies will bid on the contract. There will be two different contracts awarded to 2 individual tow companies. The fee is a little over $1,000 that the companies pay, and that is simply to cover the cost and time to manage those contracts. But obviously, we want to be transparent in who we award those contracts to. So in order to do that, we would ask that 2 members of the commission form that ad hoc committee, work with a member of the police department staff and other city staff to do those site visits, review the contract and the bids, and then make a recommendation. That recommendation will be presented to the city council at a later time. We're anticipating sometime end of September, maybe early October for finalization. So if that meets with the commission's approval, we'd like to have a discussion and potentially make a motion that the commission make that ad hoc committee. And of course, I'm open for comments if anybody has any.
Chief, I have a question for you. When do you need these volunteers for the ad hoc committee?
If it's approved
How
today
soon?
and the commission would like to move forward, we'd like to establish those members today. And then one of my staff members will reach out at a later time, something that's convenient for all the members that are on that ad hoc committee so that they can move forward. And like I said, we want to try to bring this to the council end of September, early October, depending on their agenda.
Okay, so you want them to be available end of September or beginning of October?
We'll have our staff reach out to the members. Yes, that's the goal. Like I said, it's about 4 hours worth of work. But by the time the ad hoc committee reviews the proposals and then does a site visit, you'll do it as a group. There's certain specifications that we asked in our proposal, such as being within a 5-mile radius, certain response times, size of a yard and an evidence area. And whoever is on that ad hoc committee will get those. We'll get the proposal, the bid, so that all the specifics that we're looking for. Then you can meet as a group. My staff will help facilitate that and then make arrangements for the site visit.
Okay. In that case, I would like to present this to my commissioners and see if we can get a couple of volunteers for the ad hoc committee. Do I have any volunteers? I need 2.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Commissioner Liu to this ad hoc committee.
Okay. Anybody else who would you like to volunteer for the ad hoc committee?
Reviewing contracts sounds a little bit too much like my day job. Happy to look at them after, but I know they will be in good hands with you guys. So.
Okay, so at this point, we have the 2 volunteers for the ad hoc committee. You have their names and information, so you can contact them when needed to get that further information, what you expect from them.
Great, thank you. My staff will reach out to you, and as this is an ad hoc committee, it is limited in term and scope, and therefore it does not require, it's exempt from Brown Act issues. So my staff will reach out and we'll schedule the meetings at your convenience. So
okay, so is that is Commissioner Lou, Charlie, as well as Armando Munoz.
Correct.
Will be both. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
need to take a roll call vote to establish the ad hoc.
Yeah,
Okay, I make a motion that we establish the ad hoc committee with Charlie and Armando to review the tow RFPs.
I
Second.
second.
Chair Cervantes,
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz. Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner G, Commissioner Alguin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lou.
Yes.
And when this is done, staff will bring back the recommendation for review and then also the termination of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to item number 9, City Council Liaison Communications. Council Member Brown, do you have anything that you would like to share? No. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to item number 10, Staff Liaison Communications. Chief Solinsky or Chief Lloyd, do you have anything you would like to share?
Great, thank you. I have a few things I'd like to share. I'm going to pass out our crime statistics. These are available online. We also pass them out at our neighborhood watch meetings. Commissioner Munoz, we're going to share one and I'll give you yours after if you don't mind. These are the crime stats and traffic collision statistics for July. We're about a month behind. By the time we get our statistics, then it requires validation through the state. So typically we're about a month behind. And as I mentioned in the last meeting, we're working on our annual report. Unfortunately, one of our individuals that was helping with the report was ill this month, so we're a little bit behind. I'll bring the annual report next month. But as you can see, there's a slight uptick in crime this year as compared to previous years. And when looking at this, I think it's important to remember that when you have crime statistics that are minimal, it often raises the statistics by double digits. 1 or 2 crimes can really change that, and that's certainly the case here. But I won't go into all the specific details other than to say we're at almost about 20,000 calls for service this year, which in total is actually a little bit lower. We tend to go anywhere between 50 to 60,000 calls for service every year. And right now we're at about 20. So we're actually, in terms of calls for service, we're a little bit lower. However, crime is trending up. I think there's a number of different reasons why crime is trending, everything from, social issues, the homelessness. We have some political issues that are going on within our district attorney's office. So all those combined, I don't want to specifically say it's one thing or another. I think it's the totality that we're seeing. But South Pasadena still remains a very low crime city and very safe as compared to our neighboring jurisdictions. So if anybody has any questions on that, happy to answer any. All right, and then moving on, I just wanted to bring to attention, we recently lost our jail contract with the Alhambra Police Department. We're working very diligently with Pasadena to change not only our court venue from Alhambra back to Pasadena. We were in Pasadena about 20 years ago, and with the closure of the Monrovia court, all the north end cities moved to Pasadena, and therefore South Pasadena got moved to Alhambra. As we're transitioning with the jail contract and looking to work with Pasadena, the city of Pasadena, we've also asked that we transfer jurisdictions, and that is in the process. So in the meantime, there may be a little bit of a delay where our staff will have to go to downtown Los Angeles for any jail transfers or booking procedures, but we're hoping to avoid that and get an MOU signed as quickly as possible. Also, in terms of our staffing with the police department and recruiting, we're ongoing as far as our recruiting. We just hired 3 new officers, which we had the good fortune to introduce to the city council earlier this week, or I'm sorry, last week. And that reduces our vacancies down. We have 8 sworn vacancies, 2 dispatch vacancies, and 5 police clerks. I'm sorry, not clerks, cadets, which are front office staff. So we're reducing our vacancies. At the same token, we still have some pending retirements and vacancies coming up. So recruiting is still ongoing. And I encourage, if you know anybody that is looking to join law enforcement, South Pasadena is a wonderful place to work. It's a great community. And I encourage them, please have them reach out to us. We're always looking for good men and women. The police department's also working tomorrow. We're meeting internally to review our mission statement and our core values. They were done in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. We've looked internally and we'd like to redo them to reflect the current values of the organization and our community. So staff will be meeting offsite tomorrow to come up with something meaningful that reflects, as I mentioned, the values of our community today. And then we'll be presenting that to the commission once we're completed and then forwarding it on to the city council. We'd like to get the commission's input as well so that we're encompassing everyone's thoughts and values as well. And then we are working on 2 different programs we hope to have by the end of the year, and that is a Citizens on Patrol. It'll be designed basically, individuals would have to go through our Citizens Police Academy. We hold it once a year. It's a 6-week course where we do it a couple hours on Wednesday evening to run through what the police department does, kind of how it operates, why we do what we do, and then interested individuals that complete that would be able to apply. And it's a volunteer program. And what we're looking for really is people that have a desire to serve the community, maybe part-time or volunteer, that could go on patrol in marked police units, not the typical black and white police units, but a very civilianized police unit, probably all white with some amber lights, and help the police department out as a force multiplier, directing traffic, maybe doing vacation checks, being the face of the police department in the community, and just being visible. So we're looking to establish a program like that. Pasadena has one. It's very successful. At a previous agency that I worked at, it was also a very successful program. We had a lot of interest in that. And in talking with our residents, I think there's a lot of people that have some free time, retirees that might be interested to come out and help assist. And certainly that also includes assisting in the front office if an individual maybe doesn't feel comfortable with going out on patrol. And when I talk about being on patrol, it's an unarmed position. It is a civilian position, so the duties would be limited to, as I mentioned, traffic control or vacation checks, those type of things. We're hoping as we build our staffing that we're able to bring that program on probably sometime, we're hoping, after the first of the year. And along that line, Commissioner Braun and I had an exchange. We're also looking at bringing on a Police Explorer program, which is our youth, typically high schoolers, 14 to 17 age range, that would come in, volunteer at the front desk, and we would teach them certain life skills as well as professional skills. They had learned the basics about report writing, the police department operations, all from a fairly safe environment. But they also would get the opportunity to go on ride-alongs, learn how to direct traffic with the officers and those type of things. So those are both programs that we've been working on. We have the curriculum established. Again, we're just waiting till the first of the year and as staffing level rises and the capacity is there, then we'll bring those programs on. But all things that we'll bring back to the commission and update you as we move forward. But certainly trying to do what we can to reach out to the community and establish more robust relationships. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Yes, I do. Chief, you said you are short-staffed 5 officers and perhaps a few more that retire or on disabilities.
So right now we have 8 vacancies for
8
sworn,
vacancies,
sworn
okay.
vacancies, and then we're expecting a few retirements at the end of the year. So we're anticipating a couple of vacancies there. So recruitment is ongoing. And just to give you an idea of what we're doing for recruitment, we've gone to some of the military bases. There's obviously a large turnover every month there, so we're trying to recruit there. But we're also looking at unique opportunities. We're going to colleges, and sometimes the administration of justice, social service classes. We're putting out flyers there. Actually, around town, we've put out some business flyers, and some of our local establishments have yielded candidates. Certainly, the police academies and the likes. We've been out there, but we're really trying to be unique in our approach. We've put out some flyers when our officers are charging at the Pasadena supercharging station with the Teslas. We've got officers with flyers that are, it's a great opportunity to talk to people in the community that you might not think would be interested in law enforcement, but we've actually had some interest. I think just seeing the cars out there sparks some public conversation. So we've been using that as a tool to recruit as well. And then, of course, some of our community events, such as the concerts in the park, Coffee with a Cop, the farmers market, we also try to recruit at those places as well. So we're really trying to think of robust ways to get the message out.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One is for a young person that would like to join the police force. Are your requirements, do you want that these young men or ladies have a college degree, an associate degree, or would they be considered if they are like the first year on an associate program? What would be your consideration for this to become a police officer?
So it's certainly not required to have a college degree, although we encourage it. The law hasn't changed, but it is changing shortly. There's some legislation on the books to require a college degree for an entry-level position as a police officer. Now that is for a sworn police officer. That does not mean that you need a college degree for some of the internal positions, such as a records clerk or a dispatcher. But the reality is, to be a successful candidate, most of our applicants have college degrees already. So while not required, certainly encouraged. And then desire to serve, a clean background free of criminal convictions. And then for a sworn officer, minimum age of 21. And if anybody is interested, please have them contact the police department. They can go online. They can contact any police officer they see out in the field. It's something that we really encourage our officers, if they talk to someone or if there's an interest, is to take the time and sit down with them, talk to them at an appropriate time, give them the resources. And then, of course, we also, if someone's interested, they can always come in and do a ride along or a sit along if it's a internal position. And just to get a feel for what the law enforcement is, what we do on a day-to-day basis, and see if it's something that they're interested in. One thing I always tell people is to take advantage of those opportunities to make sure that South Pasadena is a right fit for them, just as much as we're evaluating them to make sure that they're a right fit for us, because each law enforcement agency has a unique culture depending on what agency you go to. And certainly South Pasadena is no different. We have certain expectations, and it just as our community does. So we want to make sure that we're hiring the right people.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. You mentioned our jail contract being up, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember as a kid, we did have a contract with Pasadena, but it became not cost effective. So that was when we switched to Alhambra. Have the terms become more favorable since then, or what led up to that, and why are we looking to go back to Pasadena?
We initially left Pasadena simply because of the court venue. When we were moved from Pasadena to Alhambra, it just made sense to go more local, being that both courts are across the street. So Alhambra Court is across the street from Alhambra Jail, and same with Pasadena. If we were to continue to book at Pasadena, which we did for a short period of time, our officers had to go up there and transport the prisoners to court every day, which took officers out of the field. Given that we staff anywhere between 3 to 4 officers a day on a specific shift, and that task could take up to 3 or 4 hours, depending on what the court looked like, the court calendar, it just really wasn't feasible. In terms of the contract and cost, we pay a flat fee to Alhambra of 30,000, as opposed to Pasadena. We're still in negotiations, but it's looking like a per prisoner per day cost, which may be more favorable. The reason why we're switching is that is at the request of Alhambra, simply because of the number of people we were booking into their facility and that were getting released from they weren't happy with, and this is directly from them, they weren't happy that our prisoners were being released into their city. So when the terms came up, they elected not to renew.
Okay, gotcha. And I believe we also at one point, and this may have been when I was either very young or even before my time, but we had a jailer here, right? At one point, have we looked at the cost benefit of having that again?
We did a preliminary analysis of that, and we would have to have approximately 4 full-time employees. And then when you're talking about a custody facility, there's quite a significant increase in liability. Prisoners have to be monitored 24 hours. Obviously, there are a number of issues when you're talking about housing someone up to their arraignment, which can be anywhere, if it's a weekend, 3 to 4 days, depending. So there's significant costs involved with that. Not something we have ruled out. I think right now we have an option with Pasadena, so we're trying to explore that. But certainly we have some fallback plans if that didn't work. But we're keeping our options open. When we closed our facility, our jail facility, probably 25 years ago, we kept it up to standards with the state requirements. We still get inspected, what they call a Title 15 inspection, every couple months by the grand jury from LA County to make sure that we're meeting those requirements. And that was specifically with the intention of if we ever needed to open it again, we would be grandfathered in under the previous requirements. If we officially shut the jail down and then wanted to reopen it, the requirements of a jail have changed, and we'd have to do significant upgrades and repairs to it. Probably not cost effective. So that is one of the reasons why we've kept our jail technically open this entire time, is if we ever needed to revisit that. One of the challenges we're finding is, should Pasadena not work out, and I have no reason to believe it wouldn't, then we would have to look at going to the sheriff's department to book, which would be downtown Los Angeles and Twin Towers. The challenge we see as South Pasadena is with not having our own jail. We really are at the mercy of whatever agency is accepting our prisoners. So we have to follow their policies, procedures. And as I talked about, Alhambra was not specifically happy with our prisoners getting released into their city, creating more damage. That created some liability on their end. And frankly, they weren't in the jail business as far as contracting out. They have a jail facility for their own police department. So when it came time, they elected not to renew it. Now, Pasadena could certainly do that with us in the future. And then looking at the county, the county has specific requirements of what they will and will not take in terms of crime. So when we're talking about quality of life crimes, when we're talking about drug offenses and minor felonies, we may or may not be able to put someone in jail, and it might be a cite and release out in the field. We're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So that's why we're exploring all the other avenues before we go down the road of having to use the county facilities. And certainly if we come to the time frame where we have to look at county facilities, we'd also factor in maybe bringing our own jail back.
Okay, thank you. When you said it closed 25 years ago, that made me feel old. So thanks for that. Last question. Do we have the vehicles that we would think of using on the COP program, or would that be something we would need to expend the money to go purchase the white vehicles? I know we used to have a white Crown Vic with amber lights. I don't know if we still have that.
We don't have that anymore, and it would be something we'd have to budget in. So.
Yes, when I talk to residents, they really want to more patrol in terms of traffic safety. They say when they see a police officer, the drivers will behave much better, the street will be safer. So I think the COP program will be very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a force multiplier, and there's nothing like seeing a police car out there that to slow people down. You know, the goal really is to change driver behavior. And earlier in the day, I believe Commissioner Savant has talked about what we call decoy vehicles, which is unmanned vehicles. We put those out strategically throughout the city to combat crime and also traffic violations. The challenge of that is trying to move them around and you know, if they're at the same place all the time, people get wise, and you know, then they start to ignore that. So we really want to be strategic in how we deploy them, but it is something we definitely use to our advantage. So, thank you.
I just want to add one more thing, and I know, Brian, you probably stayed away from this issue purposely, maybe. But at our last city council meeting, I just wanted this commission to be aware that the city has executed a side letter with the Police Officers Association, so it's out of contract. And we have added some additional pay for them effective July 1 of this year for having a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and also the post-certification, which I'm not sure I understand it in detail, but officers after a certain point can get an intermediate certification and then an advanced certification. And so we added pay if they have the intermediate or the advanced certification. The idea to that was it was really retention based, and also to sort of, you know, encourage more education, more experience, and to really acknowledge that. So we did approve it at our last meeting. It was on the consent calendar, but I think it was important for this commissioner to know that this has been in the works for months. And we also had several city council members had some interactions with the POA, sort of understand what some of their issues might be. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief Solinsky, just a quick question. What is the entry level salary for the new officers?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look that up, but if anybody's interested, they can go online. I can certainly get it to you before the end of the meeting here. It would be a guess. I wouldn't feel comfortable, but I'll get it to you before the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, now moving on to item number 11, Commissioner Communications. Commissioners, do you have anything that you would like to share?
Just again, congratulations to Chief Lloyd. Thank you for accepting the position. Look forward to working with the commission. Looks forward to working with you and learning more about you and seeing how you bring the department into the next phases. So thank you.
One more thing I want to mention is about the parking near the train station. Some of the neighbors think they got too many people have the red tag, so it's hard to park in front of their own house. Another person complained about the 72 hours of the parking limit. He has his own car parking there over 72 hours in front of his house, and he got ticket.
The 72-hour violation, that's a state law. That's not a city law. So a vehicle cannot be stationary at any specific place on a public roadway for more than 72 hours. We don't go out looking for those, but if someone calls, then we'll go out, we'll mark the vehicle, we'll leave a notice, and then within 72 hours, we'll return. If it's still there, then we will cite. Even the car is right in front of their own house. It's a state law, not a city law. So yes, and if any vehicle, regardless of where it's at, is parked for more than 72 hours on a public roadway, which it cannot be, then we'll act accordingly. Even if they have an overnight parking permit, the parking permit allows you to park on the South Pasadena roadway between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. But that's all that parking permit does. So it does not negate the state law of 72 hours.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And since I'm up here real quick, top step police officer is 8,885.
How much?
$8,885 per month.
All right, thank you. Okay, with no further items or comments from staff, I will now adjourn the meeting at 10:20 a.m. Our next regular meeting will be October 14th at 2024 at 8:30. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.